I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I want to thank you so much for joining me. All right, this video is a bit older. It's 15 years old. And I remember watching it probably about 2 years ago. I've not seen it since then. It came across my feed, and all I remembered was this story is worth talking about. This is about a woman who is approximately $260,000 in debt. And even though this was 15 years ago, the impression that she left on me, the message she gives the general public is very powerful. It's what happens when you are out of control with credit card spending. Now then, I usually will play my videos pretty much in like 1.25. This video is about 7 minutes. I am going to play it on normal speed because I think it's important for the audience to hear her tell her story at her pace. And sometimes not sometimes, but almost all the time, the speed that we talk at, the tone we use, the pauses, the breaks, and you've heard me say it in other videos, the chuckles that people make, okay? These sort of things, it's part of the story. I have not played this video in full for over 2 years, and it came across my feed probably because of the reaction channel that I've become. But I do remember it was very powerful, and I hope she's in a better place today. But I can tell you from experience, if the lessons have not been learned, if changes in the way you think are not made, you can be in the same position, if not worse, even 15 years later. But I pray she's in a much better place today, and I want to thank her for sharing her story. So this is going to take as long as it takes. It's Friday evening, so I will upload this Saturday morning. My uploads on the weekends are pretty much at 9 a.m. All right, so let's go ahead, and with all due respect, let's hear her story.
I'm not good with money. I have learned that. Credit cards are dangerous. If you want something and you have room on a credit card, you can buy it. I'm pretty quiet for a while. Credit card.
And yes, it is a little bit older. It's just the video. It's just because it's a little bit older.
Card. Better?
Who hasn't done that? And don't forget, it's linked in the description box so you can watch it uninterrupted. Who has not done that? Maybe you haven't stuck it in the dishwasher. But as someone who went bankrupt in the age of about 24, right about 24, 25, I went bankrupt on $24,000 worth of credit card debt, which might not have seemed, which, you know, granted in today's dollars may not seem like a lot, but I found that even working 60, 70 hours a week, I couldn't pay it off. It was medically killing me. So, while I may not have put my cell phone in, the dishwasher, I certainly do remember not answering phone calls.
My name is Diane McLeod. I was born and raised in Philadelphia. Right now I live in Croydon. And the debt I'm carrying all total is probably about $286,000. Give or take $1 or $2.
Diane McLeod's debt is the result of financial missteps, unfortunate circumstances, and a lending industry willing to extend her more credit than she could possibly repay.
And this is when it starts to become, who is at fault for the debt? Is it the lending institutions, the banks? Is it the credit card industry, that says, hey, buy up all this debt? Is it the individual, the person that takes on the debt? Who is at fault? And we must remember that when we make a judgment on something, we need to take this story from 15 years ago and let's apply it to real time and student loan debt. Who's at fault for the student loan debt? The student, the school, the banking institution. We begin to realize, in my experience, that debt, consumer debt, whether it's credit cards, too much house, whether it's student loans, it's never one story that explains the debt. It's many different stories that explain the debt. And we must be open to hearing those stories.
A lot of my friends don't know what's going on. Some of my very close girlfriends do. But I have not let it been widely known because I'm embarrassed.
Amen, sister. Yeah, it is embarrassing. As a matter of fact, if I had to, I would rather stand up in a room and tell you I was an alcoholic than tell you I had 2 bankruptcies. Why is that? Why would most people rather stand up and tell you they're an alcoholic than to reveal their financial situation when it's not good? Because I believe when it comes to financial situations, one, we see those as private. See, now maybe if I weren't a public school teacher where you could just look up my income, I might be more private about it, all right? But in my case, you can look up my income, so it's really no big surprise there, okay? No need to hide that. But financing, unlike alcoholism or even, my shopping addiction, when it comes to the dollar bill itself, we're talking the ones that I'm giving out, it is so personal as to why you're handing that $1 bill over. It's very, very personal. And the problem is oftentimes the person handing the $1 bill over, the one that's spending it, doesn't even know why they're spending it. And until you know why you're spending it, you're going to keep spending it and you're going to dig yourself further and further into debt. It's incredibly embarrassing. It's incredibly embarrassing. Maybe I'm able to say it just simply because I've had more time to process it. But I can tell you that it hurts. And it hurts deeply. And I think in some ways, I think in some ways that the pain never goes away. Actually, not I think, I know. But I think it's good to some extent that the pain, that there must remain a sore spot. And that sore spot must remain so that you or I never forget. So we never go back there again. Because it really is true. Once you've had a spending addiction, it never really goes away. It just simply gets better understood. It gets better controlled. And you learn healthier outlets. Okay? You learn healthier outlets. For me, one of them would be weightlifting. All right? Other people, they may take on some charity work or, work a little harder in their career, whatever. But you learn to manage it. But does the pain of where you used to be and where your mind was at, does that ever go away? No. And there's an incredible social shame sometimes. I think it feels like to people that, this is what you used to be. And so it's buried. So I understand her when she says it's incredibly embarrassing. I can tell you, people would rather say they're an alcoholic than tell you that they're out of control with their spending.
Across America, as home prices have fallen and the cost of living have gone up, more and more.
Remember, this is 15 years ago.
More Americans like Diane McLeod are facing financial ruin. For years, they've spent more than they've earned, and they've used credit cards and other debt to do so, and now they're really under a mountain of borrowings.
Does this sound any different than what we're in today? Does this seem, you could play what this woman just said. You could play it today. I could tell you, hey, this is something I just saw on TikTok, and you'd be like, yeah, the mountain of debt people are under, the credit cards that people are spending. What is happening with the credit card industry? What is happening? What's happening with Target? Target's struggling financially to make it. Credit cards are starting to scale back and take away, they're lowering people's credit limit if they're not just simply taking the card altogether. Listen to this video, apply it to today, and you'll realize nothing's changed. And that's scary.
it leaves them in a position where only one incident, whether it's a job loss, a divorce, an illness, can push them right over the edge.
My second bankruptcy, when I was in my early 30s, almost 10 years, because you have to wait 10 years. My second bankruptcy was a result of 2 job losses in a row and buying a car that was 40% of my income because I did not understand how to purchase a car. And we wonder why students are so far in student loan debt. I believe students are so far in student loan debt because they don't understand the magnitude of the debt they're taking out. They hear, okay, yeah, I'm going to take out $40,000, and that's what they hear, but they don't understand what it takes to pay it off. Parents take out astronomical amounts, sometimes, probably more than they should, of Parent Plus loans. And while parents may understand the dollar amount, they have to get over the hurdle of the emotional, of perhaps telling a child, I can't afford this. It's like we each have our own, struggles to deal with when it comes to making decisions about money.
It seems all my life I've worried about money. I didn't worry about it as a kid or have to, but I've always worried.
I remember being in my 20s, early 20s. I just graduated from the University of Oregon. It was in 1989. So right around that time, early 20s. And I remember actually wondering if I would ever get to a financially happy place in my life. I actually remember wondering, will I be financially comfortable in my late 20s? Will I be financially comfortable in my 30s? I wasn't asking to be rich. I was asking to be comfortable, not rich. And then I remember thinking, will I be comfortable in my 40s? God knows I would have never been prepared for a bankruptcy in my 20s and a bankruptcy in my 30s. Never. Nothing would have ever prepared me for that. Would not have even have thought of that.
You stay outside. Not with a cigarette in my mouth. My mother will get mad.
Diane's financial troubles began back in 1996. Her husband's business was failing, and ultimately their marriage failed as well.
Yeah, financial stress can put a whole lot of stress on a marriage. And I think if you already weren't compatible, it'll be the straw that just, the straw off the camel's back that just ends it.
Diane, a stay-at-home mom raising her son, grew depressed and was having trouble paying the monthly bills.
Okay, she's a stay-at-home mom. So some people obviously would say, well, why doesn't she just go out and get a job? That's like saying to me, well, Carrie, if you were so broke with your credit cards in your early 20s, why didn't you just stop spending? Sometimes the answers aren't clear. People would like a very, very clear answer. It's a whole lot of things. Okay? I can guarantee you, just like they said, she was depressed. She was accustomed to a certain lifestyle. When that lifestyle clearly had to change, she had not adjusted her mind to accept that change. Think about it. She was a stay-at-home mom. Her husband was self-employed. She has a kid. Everything's going in life, presumably, as she wants. Then, husband's business, I think it was self-employed, okay? The business goes. Now, her brain is having to adjust to go, wait a minute, this life that you thought you were going to have is no longer available to you. It's not as easy as simply saying, as simply as snapping a switch and saying, okay, well, I can just make that change now. I'm going to work 40 hours a week, put the kid in daycare, or however the child was. I don't know how old the child was, but it's never as simple as that. If it were that simple, if adapting to life changes like that were that simple, we wouldn't have over $1 trillion in credit card bills because everybody would be happy to go out and work 2-3 jobs until the debt was paid off, right?
I paid gas, electric, and telephone on credit cards because there was no income. If we had a fight sometimes, I'd go out and shop and buy something to make me feel good.
And I can guarantee you that before they got divorced, before he lost his job, I guarantee it to you, she was already a shopping addict. All the job loss did was bring it to the surface. The fact that she was able to afford to be a stay-at-home mom, the fact that the household had enough income to do that. And even, this being 15 years ago, even 15 years ago, that's still considered a luxury. Okay, I mean, I've been in Tampa, a little over 20 years, so it was still considered a luxury to stay at home 15 years ago, all right? The fact that she was able to do that, I guarantee you 100%, I'll guarantee you, she was already a shopping addict or working her way into it. It's just her life situation brought it to the surface. It's like when they tell you, when a person becomes wealthy, all wealth does is bring out more of what you are. That's all it does. This life situation just simply brought out more of what she was. She was a shopping addict. But it was easily covered through the husband bringing home enough money for her to pay the bills. And even when maybe he didn't have enough money that month, she was able to use credit cards. If I look at my history of shopping addiction, I can tell you, and I'm no way am I faulting my mother, because I don't think, I refuse to hold her accountable because she's not. But I can tell you one of the best memories I've ever had, shopping with my mom. She and I, even if nobody else would get up at 5 a.m. to do the Thanksgiving after day sales, when the sales were really sales, and they didn't celebrate, opening the stores on Thanksgiving Day, okay? But take it back to childhood, okay? She and I had some of our closest bonding times was shopping together. Now, my mother was not a shopping addict by any sense of the imagination. I can even tell you that as an adult. No, she definitely was not. But I associate some of the best times with my late mother in shopping. By the time I was in my early 20s, I guarantee it to you, I already had the seed for shopping as something that was very enjoyable, something that brought on good memories with me. Probably like people who are food addicts. I've not ever been a food addict, but you will oftentimes hear them say, well, the best times I had is when, mom, gave me a warm bowl of chicken noodle soup, and then she just kept serving the soup and I kept eating it. And then soup changed into desserts, and then it changed into, we had celebrations all the time. Whereas I wasn't raised in a family like that. So I guarantee you she was already a shopping addict. It was not the divorce or the loss of the job that created her addiction. Her addiction was already there. It was already simmering. And if you could be a fly in the wall, she was already showing signs of it during the marriage.
Some of the home shopping channels, when you're alone and depressed, you can do some damage.
And the price was pretty darn good on this,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah.
Let me tell you something about the shopping channels. I absolutely loved watching shopping channels. Now, oddly enough, for all the spending addiction I had, I never bought anything from it. I probably haven't bought 10 things from a shopping channel, and I haven't watched shopping channels in years, okay? But how many people simply turn on the shopping channel as just company in a room? Okay. Now, I haven't done it in years and years, but I do remember I used to just, it was like company. Oh, and the same, women were there, the guys, it didn't matter who was presenting, but, they had the schedules that you could follow. And again, it creates that connection. So it's fine to someone who's not a shopping addict. But even though I didn't shop on the channels, the fact I was even on it is just, almost shameful, okay? Because what's it doing? It's feeding my subconscious. It's feeding me going, shop, 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 shop. I may not shop on QVC. I may not shop excuse me. I may not, excuse me there, I had to cough, didn't want to cough into the microphone. Even though I didn't shop there, that subliminal message was constantly being given to me. And I loved the shopping network. So take someone who does shop there, you can just do it sitting at home.
Yes.
Like a lot of Americans, Diane never fully paid off her credit card bills, and she would then be paying 27% and 28% interest rates to the credit card companies.
Oh, yes. I never paid off my credit card bill. I judged my budget by what were the minimum payments and could I afford all of them. It didn't matter if I think, well, what was I typically would have 4, 5, sometimes 6 credit cards. And I hate to say stupid me because I don't know, but stupid me, I guess I don't know what other word to use. Naive, ignorant, uneducated me. I never remember adding up all the debt. Talk to a shopping addict. They don't remember adding up all the debt because it's not the total debt. It's not the total debt. It's can we afford the minimum payment? And so long as we can afford the minimum payment, then that's what matters. I could not tell you until I went bankrupt. Okay? I could not tell you it. The 23, 24 when I went bankrupt, I could not tell you what my credit card bills were. I could not tell you. But I can tell you one thing. It was all spent on crap. All of it. There was nothing, and I'm telling you, I remember it 25, 30 years later. Okay? 30 years later, I can tell you definitively it was spent on crap. Feel good stuff. There was nothing there. I don't even think I bought food with it. It was literally just spent on stuff. But I couldn't tell you what the total balance was because people who are out of control with their spending, we don't know what the total balance is and what the balance is, and we really don't want to know. What we want to know is there enough room on that credit card for me to squeeze in another $5, $10, $20? And how much is the payment going to be on the minimum payment charge? That's how people who are shopping addicts live, or people who are out of control with their credit card spending. Today, I can tell you how much is on a card. I can tell you my American Express card has $56 and change on it.
In addition, these companies would levy late fees and over limit charges on.
Oh yes, what is it that I have? Oh, and by the way, I use my American Express card because I get 2% cash back, and I love it. And I have very good control of it today, and I've used it for a couple of years, and I have no intentions of getting rid of it. But that's because, much like a gun, I've learned how to use it, and I'm no longer afraid of it. I don't know how to shoot a gun, but I know how to control my credit cards, and I have for a long time now. Over limit fees and late fees. Yeah, fees on the fees. And did you know when you pay those fees on the fees, it gets added to your principal balance, and that becomes a new higher interest rate. This is why with student loan debt, when they tell you that there is forgiveness for those not in public service, okay, when they tell you there is forgiveness at the end of the 20-25 year rainbow, and they give you an income-based payment, and people are like, oh, sweet Jesus, sweet Jesus, I have an income-based payment, I can afford the bill, but the problem is the income-based payment isn't enough to get into the principal, so that principal keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. I've known people who have wrongly thought that when the loan is forgiven, now hear this, especially if you're not familiar with income-based payment. I've had conversations with people who they thought, okay, so 25 years passes, you've made your income-based payment, the balance is now higher because all that interest has been added on. Imagine 15, 20 years of interest on student loan being added on. They thought when the IRS forgave them, it was on the lower balance amount. In other words, that the IRS wasn't looking at all the years of interest that's tacked on. No. The IRS looks at the entire thing, all the years of interest that were added on. So that when you are forgiven, you are taxed on that new higher balance that may have accrued 15, 20 years of interest, which that balance, after they have forgiven it to you, can be equal or higher than the initial debt you took out. Yeah. It can be equal to or higher. If you remain on income base where you're never touching the principal and you just let interest keep adding on and on and on. When the IRS says, okay, or when your student loan provider after 20, 25 years says, okay, you've done your 20-year, indentured servitude, I think is what they call it. And then the IRS gets the bill. The IRS is taxing you on that brand new, fresh rate after 15, 20 years, 25 years of interest has been tacked on. You get the IRS bill and you look and you go, damn, this is the same amount that I took out 20 years ago. Exactly. Over limit fees, late fees. You've seen the videos that I have played. I'll link a couple of them at the end, where some people are just oblivious to the incredible damage that over limit and late fees charge. And they don't realize, I did not realize it in my early 20s, that these over limit and late fees, they're added to the principal balance, and it gives you a new higher principal balance.
On her because they allowed her to spend more than her limit. This was extremely lucrative for the credit card companies.
Yes, and you know, one of the most, corrupt companies, Capital One. Did you hear what she said, though? What this lady in blue here said? They allowed her. Now, this is where we could probably debate this all night. Feel free to debate it in the comments section, whatever you wish. Who allowed whom to do what? She says, this lady in blue says, the credit card companies allowed her to go over the limit, thereby triggering the late fees and over limit fees. You could look at this argument in many different angles, many different POVs, point of views, okay? Did the credit card companies force her? Did the credit card companies force me to go over my limit? Did they force me? Did they hold a gun to my head and say, Carrie, you know what? We're trying to impoverish you, so we would like you to go and run up your credit card bill. No, they didn't force me. Who allowed me to do that? I allowed myself to do that. The credit card company sure as hell, they weren't going to stop me. They weren't going to put, now on your checking accounts, at least that I'm aware of, because I have it on mine. Okay, I haven't had to use it in a long, probably over a decade. Okay, but they now have things where you can put a stop on your checking account, so if something tries to go through, it just kicks it back. Okay, it just kicks it back. By the way, for those of you who may not know, a lot of student loan companies don't even charge you a late fee if you accidentally, like when I had Mohila, when I had Fed loan, I remember I accidentally gave them a wrong account number when I had changed accounts, and so a payment got kicked back to Fed loan, and Fed loan never charged me an over limit or late fee. That's because they were doing too much other stuff to screw people over. But for what it was worth, they never did. And I just called them the next day and I gave them a new account number. I already had the new account number. For whatever reason, they tried to go through my old number. So if you do get late fees and whatnot on your student loan, it's worth calling in to see if they won't reverse it. But really, who's at fault? Who's at fault? And this is a tough one, because part of what they're also playing on, what the credit card companies are playing off of, is people's ignorance to how this stuff works. People are ignorant to it. I sure as heck was. I was very ignorant to it. I didn't understand it. I did. Just because you understand what $5,000 is or $2,000, whatever, just because you can write down the mathematical figure doesn't mean you understand how to work with that figure. It's why students are finding themselves in these debts that they can't get out of. Sure, they know what $50,000 is. They don't know how hard it is to pay it off because they've never had to do it. They haven't ever had to navigate the financial maze of actually paying off the bill. It's never that easy. But really, who's at fault? And people could debate this all day. If I had to choose, if it comes right down to the arrow, okay? I'm at fault. When you put the arrow right on the tip, okay, I'm at fault. And I don't have time to blame myself for being at fault. What I do have time to do, though, is I have time to learn. And I have time to figure out where the heck I went wrong. But in the ultimate end, when it comes right down to it, it is my duty, it is my responsibility to figure out how I am being manipulated. And when you get to that point, that's the point that you can start to recover. That's the point that you can take that responsibility and go, okay, I'm the one who had to learn it. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. That's what it's about. I have to take responsibility. And it could hurt because oftentimes you can feel very manipulated along the way. Let's take it today. Look at the schools that were corrupt. Look at the Corinthian line of schools. University of Phoenix sued recently and lost, going back to 2012, 2013 lawsuits. Okay? These schools sure as hell aren't helping students get through now, are they? They're not. They're telling them lies and stories about how easy it is going to be to get a job, how much money they're going to earn. Oh, but if you make in the top, if you go into this major, you can earn up to this amount. But what they fail to tell people is not very many people are going to earn that top amount. Oh, but if you become a doctor or lawyer, you'll never find yourself with a $500,000 student loan debt you can't pay off or $700,000 debt you can't pay off. So ultimately, even though, yes, they contributed by, helping feed me the dope, the person that's ultimately responsible for it is me. That's who the buck actually stops with. And when you get to that point where you can accept, that's where the buck stops. The buck stops with you, and the buck has to stop with you. Because if it doesn't stop with you, you give the power to somebody else to control you. And if you give that power to someone else to control you, then you can never get your life back, because you will always be at the mercy of somebody else. That is a position you don't want to be in. So you have to take responsibility. You have to take it. Because if we sit there and we say, well, it's the credit company's fault, it's the student loans company's fault. If we do that, then we can never take control of our life. Somebody else will take it from us. They will rip it apart, leave us dying on the floor, and then we're going to wonder what the heck happened. And what really happened was we lost control. And we lost so much control that we gave it to somebody else. And that is something we never want to do. Ever. By accepting responsibility, by accepting that by learning how it is that we got manipulated in the first place, by accepting the debt or the situation that we're in. It may not even be debt related, but for the purpose of this channel, it's about student loan and consumer debt. By accepting that and admitting our weaknesses, our faults, our wrongs, our naiveties, by doing that, then we slowly reign in control. And we're able to look at a company and go, nah. You ain't doing that to us. You're not doing that to us.
Well, I got to the point where I didn't have 20 credit cards, but I may have had 5 or 6. It's kind of like people with potato chips. You can't just have one.
By 2000,
Oh, hell, I didn't have just 5 or 6. I think at the point of my bankruptcy, I'm going to say I had around 10. It was a list. Let's just, one of those where the attorney has to lick their thumb and go to the next page and go to the next page. Yeah, when your attorney has to lick their thumb to flip through pages of your credit card or consumer debt bill, you have a problem.
2003, McLeod was carrying about $25,000 in credit card debt, but she was working 2 jobs and was able to buy a home with no down payment.
There are stories right now trending in 2023 where banks are trying to get people into homes. I think Bank of America started a program. Don't quote me on this, okay? But I know it's kind of trending right now in the news where people are getting into homes with next to nothing. Here is something that, in the olden days, I said, oh, hallelujah, Jesus, that's great. Problem, people are getting into homes they can't maintain. They're getting into homes they can't afford. I always used to think it would be so neat to win a new vehicle. I remember at times I would think, man, why can't I win a new car or something fun? And, Scout's honor, I don't want to win anything. Do you know why? Because I'm going to be stuck trying to maintain it. And if I can't maintain it because it's not in my budget, I'm going to lose it. Remember that home improvement show where they would go on, I can't remember what it's called, and they would count down, 3, 2, 1, and then they would reveal this beautiful new house that came from, a little shack to a A house fit for a princess. Okay, it was that show, and they would, so called help these people that were in homes that were dilapidated or just not fit for their disabilities or family loss or whatever. Look that show up now, and you will see the multitude of people who lost their home. Why? Because nobody considered what it would cost to maintain it. Yeah, you got the house for free. Yeah, you got into a house with 0% mortgage. The problem is when you get into a house with 0% mortgage, that tells me today at 56 that you don't have any money. Now, I'm not saying you can't get a first-time home loan, with 0% and it's going to be the end of the world every time. But we have to pay attention to, okay, you're going in with 0%. You should be looking at something very small and very downsized. Right? To make sure that you don't lose it. This woman was broke, $25,000 in debt. She got a house. But it's not just, in my opinion, that she was $25,000 in debt, because I believe somebody can be $25,000 in debt and actually control it. I actually do. The problem is, this is a woman who's $25,000 in debt and she's a shopaholic. That is never a good recipe.
I was very proud of myself when I bought the house. I thought I would live here.
Stop. I'm going to minimize my screen. I'm going to minimize and be way down here into the corner. Stop. Hold on. That way you can see the room. Remember, I haven't seen this video in like 2 years, but I remember it enough to know it left an impact on me. Take a look.
Here till I died.
Stop. What do we see? Matter of fact, people, I'm going to back this up one more time. I'm just going to do it because, well, that's what I do. Hold on. Look at the background.
I was very proud of myself when I bought the house. I thought I would...
Boom. Let's stop. Let's just take a look at what do we see. Do you see a lot of stuff? And when I look at what she sees, and again, I've said this before, we're using her to teach us. We're not looking at this to shame or to judge. I mean, to some extent, it's always judgment. But we're using her to teach us stuff. Just like I'm using my life experience to hopefully educate my audience. Take a look. I guarantee it to you, this was all bought with credit card money. All of it. None of this stuff was paid for in cash. None of it.
Would live here till I died.
Stop. Let's count the snow globes. Okay, I'm going to use my mouse. 1 snow globe. I think that's 1 snow globe. 2 snow globes. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's where the money is. 7 snow globes, and that's what we see here. And this front one may even be a snow globe. There's 8. Oh, and look I think we got more snow globes over here. Shopping addiction, anyone?
After I had the house for a year, my friend...
Okay, this looks a bit more reasonable. But again, okay. I'm not one to really count picture frames too much. Maybe it's just the sentimental part of me. That's family and friends. So I tend to ignore picture frames, okay, because that's loved ones up there. I place no judge or I have no comment to say about anyone's loved ones. That's, to me, it's just kind of inappropriate. Those are her loved ones or things that she loves, and from a person-to-person standpoint. So I personally, I ignore people's picture frames. Okay, I don't count that.
Had done mortgages.
Okay, go ahead and blow myself back up here again. All right. But I wanted you to see that background. Does that look similar to another video I did, which I will also link at the end? I can link up to 2 videos at the end. Remember I did a video about a month ago? Maybe a little, I've not had this reaction channel very long, so it's probably like 3 weeks ago. And she was retired, and she had a whole lot of stuff. Remember that? And we froze that picture, and she had cute 2 little dogs. Stuff. I had stuff. I had closets full of clothes. Closets. Okay? Just take a standard pantry, towel closet. Fill it with sweaters and skirts and pants. Just fill it. It was obscene what I had. I had enclosed what she has in the background here of stuff and snow globes and what the retired lady who was near retirement and her husband was a trucker, which I will link at the end, okay? Hopefully if I remember. If you don't see it, somebody let me know, but I usually remember, okay? Stuff. That's the common theme with people who have shopping addictions. It's stuff. Lots and lots of the same stuff. I mean, you can only shake one snow globe at a time, right?
And said, well, refinance and put your debt in the mortgage. And that was easy. It was amazing how easy.
And it's dangerous as all heck. Refinance is one of the most dangerous things because once you have refinance, not only does your bill go higher, the overall bill goes higher because you've refinanced. When you refinance your credit cards, if you don't get rid of those credit cards, cut them up and don't go back into debt, guess what? All that bill comes right back up again. I did another video just a couple days ago on a woman in New York who went bankrupt in 2018. Okay, she went bankrupt in 2018, and now in 2023, she's $300,000 in debt. This is after filing bankruptcy in 2018. In 5 years, she's back in full swing debt. Part of it was student loans, which cannot be bankrupted on. I accidentally hit stop on the recording instead of stop on the video, so we're back on track. Here we go.
One of the reasons it was a trap was that the total amount that she had borrowed then went up, and as the mortgage reset at higher rates, she then would be paying, much more to cover that debt. She also had to pay almost $10,000 in penalties and fees to get the mortgage, and another mistake occurred when she had to borrow from her 401k to pay those fees. That triggered a tax bill.
Do you guys see how this just spirals out of control? It just spirals. Once you lose control financially, it's easy to just feel like you want to give up. And of course, a lot of people don't know, but when you do borrow from your 401k, okay, especially if you don't pay it back, that becomes a tax bill. Now, in some 401k programs, if you borrow it for, and you usually have to have a reason to borrow, like in this case, first time home loan, refi your loan, your mortgage or whatnot. But if you don't pay it back, that's a tax bill. A lot of people don't know that.
The IRS almost $3,000. Did not have $3,000 in the bank, and petrified of the IRS, I put it on a credit card.
The credit card that she just cleared. I've been there. I can throw her no shade. There is nothing I have not done with the credit card. Paid one credit card to pay another credit card. Okay. What's another? Take cash advances on credit cards to pay another credit card to clear something that's coming out of the checking account. I mean, and when it sends you those checks in the mail, you eat it like candy, just one nibble of a check after the other. There is nothing that has not been done by me, or I should say, there's nothing I've not done to manipulate a credit card in my 20s. Nothing.
The ones I had just rolled all the debt into my mortgage.
Now, of course, I'm not laughing at her, you guys. I think you guys understand that. Okay, I've been there. But that's exactly what happens. That's why I'm chuckling, because I have been there. And you see the absurdity of it after a while. You see it. Once your mind is clear, once you are out of that fog, you look back at your other self and you're like, are we even the same people? It's been 15 years since this video came out. I pray to God that she is in a better place, because this is a hell of a place to have to stay in and suffer. I wouldn't wish it.
With new credit card debt building up, Diane thought the increasing value of her home would bail her out.
In the first 3 years I owned my home, it went from $135,000 purchase price to appraising for $228,000. I mean, we're talking skyrocketing appraisals.
Let's stop. Does that sound familiar? What's happening in 2023? Bought my condo in 2020 for $100,000. I could sell the sucker in 24 hours for $200,000, guaranteed. This is in Tampa, Florida. As a matter of fact, If I look at the history of what the area units around me are selling for, they're selling for about $20,000 to $25,000 above the tax appraisal price. The $65,000 unit that is on the third floor, it's in another building, but it's on the third floor. That was $65,000 in 2020, is now running $175,000 to sell it here in Tampa. My unit, purchased it in 2020 for $100,000, going for $200,000. I was tax appraised in 2020 at $175,000. This is what I'm talking about. What we're learning in this video can be applied today. I'm so glad this video came across my feed because there is so much to learn.
So I refinanced again and rolled the debt. Now I have
and what does that do to the debt? You keep refinancing. It's like people who buy a car, then they refinance to get a new car, and then they take that new car, which also still has a bill, and they refinance it to get a third car. Same thing. And the same thing happens with credit card bills and how people refi their mortgage.
2 mortgages. I had a first and second mortgage.
There we go.
And that was almost $1,500 a month.
Through 2000.
If I were going to be of my old self, okay, this would be my old self shopping or dealing with money 30 years ago. My old self would go, "Oh, gee, Carrie, we have $100,000 nearly in surplus equity." Okay, because my place is paid off. Wow, I can just take out a HELOC, what is a home equity line of credit, and I can run that up. Right? And this is what people are doing, not just 15 years ago, they're doing it now after the pandemic. But now the problem is the market's shifting with houses and people aren't selling their house. And it's not because they don't want to sell them and people don't want to buy them. All right? It's the sellers can't sell it because the interest rates keep going higher and higher and higher. I think we're almost a double digit. Last I saw, we were like at 8.5% interest. We're at a stalemate. The market's at a stalemate. Nothing different 15 years ago in this video isn't happening right now to some family here in the United States or everywhere in the world for that matter.
2006, Diane's financial position worsened. She quit one of her jobs when her pay was cut, and her son, who had been helping with the mortgage, moved out.
Now I was carrying everything on my own. And between the mortgage and my salary, it wasn't going to add up, and a car payment and all that stuff.
By the fall of 2000.
Oh, there are our globes. And now look at the back. Let's go further back. Go further back. See by the window? How many? I'm assuming those are plastic plants. How many do we count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 7 to maybe 9 respectively. These are signs of somebody who has a shopping problem. I had the same signs. If you had looked at me, if you had looked into my closets, you'd be like, "Carrie, why do we need 6 sweaters?" Now, I will admit, confession, I really like L'Oreal Infallible lipstick. It's what I'm wearing right now. I have it in 4 different colors. All right, and I get it on Amazon for about maybe 30-40% less than what I can even buy it for at Walmart. Okay, so lipstick colors aside, I love my lip gloss and my lipsticks. Okay, but I can handle that today. Back 30 years ago, I couldn't handle it. But I want you to look at this picture and notice the repetition of stuff. These are signs that somebody is purchasing for happiness. If this globe won't make her happy, that globe will. If the flower pot in the background doesn't make her happy, another will. Add it up and you see where the money goes.
2007, Diane could no longer afford the mortgage and stopped making the payments.
And what's also messed up is if you don't, what is it they tell you? The mortgage company won't help you until you're behind on your payment. So what do people have to do? They have to be willing to go behind. We won't help you until you're, 90 days past due. That's messed up thinking. Doesn't it seem logical to help people before they get past due? I could have avoided a second bankruptcy. It was only $16,000 for a car. I had lost 2 jobs. But instead, it was like, no, we're not going to do anything. File bankrupt.
He kind of gave up on trying to keep it all together.
Yeah.
In January of this year, Diane's father passed away. Against her better judgment, she consoled herself by going shopping.
Old habits.
We know we're not supposed to do it. Just because we do it, just because we are or we're shopaholics, doesn't mean we're dumb. We do stupid things, but it doesn't mean we're dumb.
Still weren't dead. You know, I didn't have credit cards, but when I got paid, I would be buying things. Shoes, clothes, handbags.
And she would buy that stuff before the paycheck hit the bank. One of the best things about being on the right side of the credit card game, I told this to one of my really good girlfriends here. I said, for the first time in my life, I would say, probably over the last 2 to 3 years, I forget when payday is. I don't have to keep track when payday is because my checking account isn't down to $3. Yeah. See, this is the reality. See, when we don't watch, when we get away from all the social media crap and we get right down to it, we begin to realize that, you know, the flashing of money, the look at me, how rich I am, so much of that crap is just a facade. But it's reality. It's the reality that matters. And my reality has been for years and years, got to keep track of payday. Now, I didn't bounce stuff or anything like that. I haven't done that in ages, okay? And I'm talking over a decade. But I always had to keep very, very careful track of when payday is. Now I know when payday is, but it's not because I don't have enough money in my account and I'm a shopaholic and I'm trying to figure out, you know, how I can manipulate the paydays. It is one of the greatest things, not about being debt free, because I stopped keeping track of when payday was probably about 2-3 years ago as my finances started taking a major turn for the better. When you can get to the point where you can go like, oh, I didn't realize this week is payday. Oh, I forgot. That's the point you know you're getting better. It's the point you know you're healing. You're becoming in control. And this is why, like I said earlier, you must accept responsibility. Don't let the credit cards take that from you. If you allow yourself to blame the credit cards, then guess what? They're going to let you keep on blaming them, and they're just going to keep feeding you the offers and hoping you'll take them. In fact, speaking of offers, American Express, now that my credit score has hit a nice healthy over 800, I think once I looked about 2 weeks ago, was at 818. Okay. American Express has been begging me. I don't think they write me less than 2 weeks in the mail in gloss to please join their elevated credit card program, the high blue personal credit card, for a mere fee of $695 a year. To join this special American Express card, $695 a year. You know, it reminds me of when before I filed bankruptcy on credit cards, the first major credit card I ever got was the Visa Gold card. And I was so damn happy because it was a gold card, and that meant I was somebody. It meant I had status. I could put that card on the table at the, whatever mall store I was at, slap it down. And even if nobody else knew what the gold card was, I sure as heck knew what it was. And that made me special. That made me special because I felt as though the credit card company were talking to me. And that's the bullshit, excuse my French, they want you to believe. They want you to believe that they are looking at you saying, you know what? You are so special that we are giving you this card because there's no one else like you. That's the crap they want you to believe. I think American Express in the last 2 months has written me, like I said, glossy flyer in the mail to join their $695 a year credit card. But there is one slight problem. Yeah, I can afford the $700, just round off. I can afford the $700 a year. Sure, I can afford that. But the problem is to get that $700 back, I got to take trips around the world. I have to fly first class. I have to stay the really expensive hotels. I don't have money for that crap. I mean, I would love it. It's great. I can't afford that. So the $700 card doesn't do me any good, because as soon as you open it, they go, look we'll give you cash back when you stay at the Hyatt. We'll give you cash back when you put on, 50,000 miles. Oh, hell, I'm happy to get to Oregon once a year and back. Do we see? This is how we fall into it.
I love shoes and handbags. I kind of like having eBay. Because for a while I was doing a lot of shopping on eBay. No surprise. But it's actually just as much fun to sell.
With little income, Diane has been selling her possessions to pay her utility bills.
Selling your possessions. Remember I did a video on that gal who went to Tufts University, and she was holding up her clothes saying, well, I guess we're not doing teas anymore. She bought those dresses with student loan money. She didn't say it in the video. I just knew she bought those dresses with student loan money. Now, what is she like? $116,000 in debt for Tufts University for a drama degree. Remember that? Yeah. And this is when eBay was more popular as sellers. I hardly ever shop on eBay anymore. Maybe just for an occasional bunt pan or two, but that's about it.
I bought it because I liked it. And it was a good deal.
So what did you pay for it? Do you remember?
$69.
What do you sell it for?
Wasn't another good investment. $29. Well, $30.
Okay, $30. Minus the packaging. Minus the cost of your time. Minus the gas that you're going to spend to go get there. Right? This stuff all matters. It matters.
Dollars.
In March, Diane received notice her mortgage lender was foreclosing on her. With eviction looming, the house is headed for auction in a sheriff's sale.
I have to commend this lady 100% for sharing this story with us. I have to commend her. It's because of people like her that people like me know that I'm not alone. And hopefully other people through both of our stories realize that they're not alone either.
Today is June 12th, 2008. Could be one of the worst days of my life. It'll rank there. The sheriff's sale for my house is at noon. Yes, hi. My house.
When my car was taken, my Nissan Maxima, when it was taken, hold on here just a second, I rearrange my chair so I'll slide off of it. When my Nissan Maxima was taken, much like when people know when, John Lennon passed away, I even remember what hallway I was standing in at school. I know exactly where I was when my car was taken. Sitting on the stairs inside my apartment. It was a townhouse, crying. And trying to figure out why I had a reason to live. And telling myself that I would get over this humiliation. And just listening to the chains as they tie it on the car and haul it off. You never forget the sound of a tow truck when it becomes that personal. You never forget that sound. And the engine coming through and, the chains. You never forget it. You never do.
House was listed for sheriff's sale today, and I was wondering if you could tell me if it's sold. It's Diane. The last name's McLeod. So what happens now?
Nobody bid on McLeod's house. The mortgage company now has to go through a formal eviction process, giving Diane time to find another place to live.
The mortgage company will be in contact with us for when they'd like us out of the property. So that was the best of all scenarios.
Jobless, with eviction imminent and her credit damaged, Diane McLeod plans to file for bankruptcy.
By the time I had my second bankruptcy, when I lost the car, I had lost 2 jobs. I'd been laid off. It will take your self-esteem straight into the ground. It will make you look at the world as, what is your purpose? Do you even have a purpose? And you wonder, does it ever get better? And you can't see it getting better. Not anytime real soon, if at all. In my depths, nah, I couldn't see it getting better. And being debt free, oh hell no, that wasn't even a thought. Those were, debt freedom wasn't even, they weren't even words on my lips. I don't even think I knew what the phrase debt freedom was because I had never lived it. I don't really believe that I knew what debt freedom was. Maybe the last few years. It's like maybe I knew, but I didn't know. I had never had a reason to say it. You can't become what you can't say about yourself. Always remember that. You cannot become what you cannot say.
She still receives offers.
You can't become that. You cannot become debt free if you don't know what the words mean. If you've never had a reason to say it. I never had a reason to say debt freedom. I never had a reason to say it. So because I never had a reason to say it, I never thought about it. It's only been in the last 10 years when I got divorced, I finally thought to myself, there's got to be an effing better way than this. There's got to be a better way. But I didn't know how to get there. I had a big student loan. I was left. It wasn't my choice divorce. He chose to leave. That's his choice. He's his own individual. But I those words, debt free, debt freedom, I don't think I even uttered those words probably until maybe the last 5 years. Into my stinking 50s. This is how long you can feel trapped. This is why student loans are so dangerous to young people who are in their 20s taking on these debts, thinking, oh, well, I'll just work it off. Yeah, some will. Lots won't. And a big old handful will take it with them till they die. You cannot be what you cannot say. You can't live your life a better way if you don't even know it exists. Never once in my 20s, 30s, or 40s did I ever say, hey, Carrie, someday you're going to be debt-free. Matter of fact, I think if I had to really hear about it, probably the first time I heard about it was on the Dave Ramsey show. I'm sure I heard it, but it didn't process it in my head, because I've been listening to Dave Ramsey for years. But it didn't process in my head. Why? Because my mind was too busy on something else. Yeah. How can you be debt-free if you've never said the words? You can't.
For more lines of credit from credit card companies. This one reads, "We think you deserve more credit."
And damn effing the credit card companies. Yeah. There aren't enough expletives I could give. They are the crack to people who are shopping addicts. Credit card companies are the crack, and they spend billions of dollars to figure out how to convince you that the more you spend, the more you save. You're such an effing good person that we'd like to extend you more credit so we can F up your credit some more. It's crack. And until a shopping addict understands that it is crack, until they get that, they're going to keep buying the crack. I get this crap in the mail all the time. All the time. In fact, in the mail probably about, 2-3 days ago, I was telling someone this at work. I know how the rich, I know what magazines the rich people look at. Yeah, I got my first taste of magazines that rich people look at. I got a magazine that was the equivalent. If you take the Vogue Fall Time Special, it's like this big, thick. I got a magazine sent to me, unsolicited, glossy, huge, the size of a Vogue magazine for rich people. I got that sent to me in the mail the other day. This sucker weighed like I could have lifted weights with it. It was probably couple pounds. This magazine was this thick, that glossy. And I thought to myself, who the F thinks that just because I'm debt free, I want to go back to that crap? When you have a shopping addiction, you believe that you are such a wonderful person that you deserve the gold card. And you spend that card like you believe it. You believe you are such a wonderful person that, yes, you must have 7, 8 snow globes because you get a bigger discount than if you just bought 1 or 2. It's like going to a restaurant and instead of buying one good meal that costs you, say, $20, okay, that's my food budget. And that's an expensive meal for me, okay? But, you know, like tomorrow I'm going to go have breakfast with a friend, all right? And it'll cost about $18, but that's a special time breakfast with a friend, okay? You, instead of buying one good meal, one serving, and really enjoying that, they want you to go eat at the buffets. Why do they want you to eat at the buffets? Because the idea is, hey, it's all I can eat for the same price that I can have one good meal. But what do? You wind up consuming more calories, puts on weight, yada yada. When you get to the right side of understanding credit card debt, when you get to the right side of understanding how student loans work, you will know when you are being manipulated. And when you understand how you're being manipulated, that is the point that you can say, back off, I'm in control, and you steer. You take the driver, you take the steering wheel. But so long as your mind is in the mindset of, I'm weak, I'm helpless, I'm so far in debt, you feel like you want to commit suicide. You're so far in debt that you don't understand why your parents even want to talk to you anymore because you're so embarrassed, even though they love you to death. You're so far in debt that you can't tell coworkers, hey, you know what? I have nothing to eat. You're so far in debt. It just goes on and on and on. But until you understand how you are being manipulated, and you understand your role in allowing that to happen, it continues and it won't stop. It just keeps going. I can look at this crap now and just laugh all the way to the bank. I mean, really. You know, I can look at it. American Express loves me so effing much, they want me to sign up for a $695 special American Express card. It's a special card. Oh, and then I think on part of that is, guess what? When you travel, you know those special rooms in the airports? You know what I'm talking about? The golden halls that ye who are of economy class do not get to walk through those doors. Yes, American Express, I believe that was one of the features, is you get on the special card. Do you think anybody cares if my ass walks into that special door? Nope. You know why? Because they're going, I'm glad I'm not paying that bill. You see, you understand you're the one that pays the bill on it. So, and again, you have to have the money to travel. I don't have that type of money. And even if I did have that type of money, I'm not spending it on that. My travels to go see my parents, pretty much, and maybe some close friends, and that's about it.
I mean, they say you have to rebuild your credit and you have to have credit cards. I don't.
Crack. Okay? She's absolutely right. Oh, how many I got. Hey, when you've had 2 bankruptcies, guess what? Yeah. You get a lot. Oh, you know what? You're a crack addict. You've been busted on crack more than, once, twice. And now we're going to help you some more. We're just going to wean you off the crack and give you some more because we want to help you, just wean off of it slowly. But until then, keep taking the crack.
I don't know if I ever want a credit card again. They're too dangerous. They're too easy.
Yes, and I got to the point where I wanted nothing to do with credit cards. And when I tell you I wanted nothing to do, I mean I wanted nothing to do with credit cards. Don't even hand me one. But guess what? As I got older, that's also potentially an equally bad road. Because in the society that we live in, yes, minus Dave Ramsey, who's got, enough money, he doesn't need a credit score. The rest of us have to live in the real world. The rest of us have to deal with it, okay? In my world, I have to deal with a credit score. Okay? But for the rest of us that have to deal with it, these things matter. All right. I can't thank this lady enough for teaching us. And I hope it taught you something as well. I'm going to call it done for tonight. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I seriously hope you will consider subscribing. Have a good night. And actually, this is being uploaded on Saturday morning, so those that you see it on the Saturday morning at 9 a.m. upload, I hope you have a terrific day. Bye.